fact is the collective takes over. People worship. People are made to worship, and we'll either worship God or we'll worship the state, or we'll worship ourselves. Or those tend to be the three choices. You're either a libertine, or you're a communist, or you're a conservative.
Look at that. That little notch.
Your children's voting pumpkin.
See, this is out here.
That is loading.
This is our first episode of Violin a Beer, and I know you're very interested about the pumpkin, so we'll talk about that first. It's a pumpkin goblet. So we pour it upside down, screw the stem into the base. So what we do, you want to open me with the knife there, Jared?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The fine folks can see your skills. Well, his only skill set, opening bottles. Well, they can't see it.
Oh, well.
So we're drinking some pumpkins, drinking out of pumpkins, and drinking pumpkins. So we do a topic, and once the beer is done, we're done. So we talk about things that your pastor is too sober to discuss with you. And the topic, and I'll share the reason why, and then I'll let you take over with your thoughts, is atheism versus religion. Can there be a debate? And I've been watching like the Ken Ham debates and lots of like Christian atheist debates online, and they irk me a little bit. So I wanted to talk about, can there be a discussion? And even like the big one for me was like the Ken Ham, Bill Nye debates, where I've heard people say that it affected them well. They had their Christian faith renewed, and then other people, I know personally, fell the other way, the opposite. Started shaking their faith a little bit because science does not line up with the Bible. Well, let's go. Take it away. I'm gonna have a sip here.
Well, are we? You want to talk about is there validity? Is it a good?
I want you to talk about whatever you want. What are your thoughts on it in general, and then give me some examples.
Oh, well, just share what I was thinking. What I said yesterday is that I don't put a lot of stock in debates, right? I think a debate just ends up determining who's a better debater, right? I like to point to the last few presidents we've had. Both lost their debates. Actually, probably the last three presidents. Trump lost his debate with Hillary.
I was thinking if I lean this way, being the camera would actually lean out. It's switched.
Right? but Trump lost his debate with Hillary. Let's see. Romney won the debate with Obama, but
who was Romney? I don't remember him.
Right? No one knows that guy's name now because he lost the presidency, but he won the debates. Gore.
It's because he didn't drink pumpkin out of a pumpkin.
Gore was a better debater than Bush, and that's probably about my time. So
Gore, who's that?
Right? Another one, you know. But my point is that I don't think a lot is a debate is really not. It just it doesn't really move the conversation forward. It's usually because
it brings up that there is a conversation.
It brings up a conversation, but people usually end up just using it as a venue just to yell at the other side or try to get got your points and just to make your side feel better. So I've never seen a debate that tried to get to the truth. So they never debated the facts to try to get to the truth. They just debate each other just to argue and just to make each side feel a little better. So I don't think
it's true. You're on the spot. Of course, you're not like whenever time I talk, I feel like I can never bring up great points. But like later, if I wrote them down, and
you're like, oh man,
it's like, so is that person just better because they're more eloquent and they can speak and they can make you look like a fool?
Right.
So if you look like a fool, they think your ideas are foolish.
Right.
I think this is the example I had. It's like it's trying to prove that I love my wife. Now you can take evidences of love, like, well, he's married, he wears his ring,
right?
You know, he made those vows, but that doesn't prove it. That's evidence. I think they say burden of proof is the terms here.
Yeah.
So there's a burden of proof that Nate loves his wife. But if you brought in a court of law, those two people would be like, well,
you say you love
Nate hasn't taken his wife on a date in, I don't know, since
2 weeks.
Now I'm starting to feel guilty. It's like, when's the last gift he's gotten her? He shows no love. And it's like, just because that's won in a court of law doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And even if I did beat my wife all the time and I was drinking beer all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why.
It still doesn't mean that I don't love her, and it's hard to prove that love.
And
I guess
and
that.
for the record, he does not beat his wife.
Do not beat my wife.
He
Does
beats
that
his
make
pumpkin.
sense? Is that little?
Yeah, and absolutely. Yeah, it's a good example is that court of law. That a court of law is really just two sides debating in front of a judge, and he tries to judge who was the better arguer, and everybody knows that a lot of times people make mistakes in that courtroom, and the wrong side wins, and we don't find out for years later.
Are you saying that the legal system is faulty?
It's nothing's perfect. Yeah. What?
Flashlights.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
But yeah, nobody actually.
Let's talk about science. How do you feel about science?
I like science.
I feel like this pumpkin's gonna fall over.
Do you have faith in your pumpkin device keeping the pumpkin up?
Yeah, see, I have a certain percentage of faith in my pumpkin.
Yeah. Can you empirically prove that? Then I like science. I guess my point is I like real science.
So, let's go back to the Ken Ham debate. See what
Which I never saw.
You never watched the Ken Ham debate?
I had other
with,
things to do.
Bill Nye. You probably save your time. It is on YouTube.
I read the
Watch whole
updates.
thing.
Yeah, I read the.
I think I was gonna start to watch it because he has like an arc encounter.
They have a
Bill
second
Nye
debate.
walked about it. Yeah, so there's kind of like a walking debate, and they just bring up these different points, and I feel like they could all be explained away. Let's bring this back to the globes, because one argument I find very interesting is the flat Earth. It's like, come on, you should be able to prove that the Earth is round.
Which thing?
It's like, and they have these little outs for everything. It's like, well, this is gravity, and that gravity proves that the world is round. And they're like, well, gravity doesn't actually exist, and so it throws that whole argument out. And they've combined enough elements to make sense of everything. It's like, well, wouldn't you fall off the edge? And they're like, it's an infinite plane. There is no edge. Right? Antarctica surrounds it, so you can't fall off the edge, and that's what contains the water. It's like they have an answer for everything.
Yeah.
I feel like you can compare that to the Christian plight, the Bible plight. It's like, well, maybe science isn't where it should be yet.
Right.
Maybe we feel like we know, oh, it's evolution, it's the Big Bang, but there's theories built on theories. Remember, they're called theories for a reason.
Right.
What
no
if
one's ever going to admit that they're wrong. Especially, and that's another thing about debates, is no one's going to admit they're wrong in front of somebody else, in front of other people, during a debate. So, if I
think they should.
Well, they won't. And that's just another thing about human nature is your pride's on the line in a debate as well. So if I'm up there and I'm debating somebody and say, well, you can't, no one's ever created life in a laboratory, which is true. Someone's not going to go.
Didn't they have a sheep they made, Dolly or whatever?
No, create, just take parts and put it together and make life. No one's ever done that. And the other side's not going to go,
Can you tell me they try to make water and it always explodes?
Yeah, I think they've tried to make. I don't know about that.
Funny because it's like if there's a big bang,
I know they can split
you can't
water.
create water.
Someone needs to.
Or when you split hydrogen, isn't that?
No, it does explode.
That's isn't that what hydrogen bomb? Is that when you get that?
No, hydrogen.
You split an atom.
That's when they smash. Yes.
You're splitting a hydrogen.
Yeah, but they're not splitting water.
There's a hydrogen atom.
Yes. Well, it's when they fuse. I think when
hydrogen's part of water. H2O.
But I don't know exactly. But yeah, no one's gonna admit they're wrong in front of people, which defeats the point of an honest debate. So again, if I say that no one's ever created life in a laboratory, so it's very good evidence that there is no evolution. The other side's not going to go, oh, you know what, you're right. Something you're trying to do on purpose could never happen by accident in nature. They're going to say, oh, we still haven't figured out how to do that. They'll just deflect that. And our side has also probably arguments that they just need to let go. I hear sometimes people...
We have bad arguments as Christians.
Sometimes we have goofy arguments, and they just need to drop them. I just heard it today, the argument that you can't trust your own mind because if you happen by accident, you can't trust your own mind.
Well, how can you prove that you're not a brain in a jar? Or you weren't created last Thursday?
Yeah, that stuff like that. I just
look it up.
Silly.
Last Thursdayism.
Yeah, last Thursdayism. There's our side has some weird philosophical arguments that I wish we would just abandon. That being one of them, that you can't trust your own mind if you happen by accident. Because if we did happen by accident, we're here. I can do things that I can test, right? But
Do you think one day the Bible will be proven through a scientific means? Is that possible?
Well, so I think it already has been in some ways. So
Examples.
Well, the Bible says that there's a Jerusalem, and we dig up old remnants of Jerusalem.
Obviously, they were living at that time, so Jerusalem was there.
Right, and the question is, can you prove the Bible scientifically? And scientifically, I have historical documents.
Well, that's historical.
But that's just form of science, I would think. I can test it. I can repeat it. I can.
I think Eric Dubay, the big flat earther, has got a video on Jesus not existing and the Bible, and he's because Josephus is one of the few that actually supports the Bible.
Well, people forget
a lot of what he says, because he's one of the few writers that lived at that time.
And
people after Christ's birth,
right? And people forget that how little has survived from that time. I read that the Romans had 120 different volumes of books of their history, and only 30 of them have survived. And I can find that somewhere else. I can find that proof. So not a lot has survived.
Well, when were the Dead Sea Scrolls found?
The
1940s? Yeah. So it's probably right around when Israel was founded in 1948.
Yeah, so things are lost and destroyed.
And I don't even know what books were found in there.
They were all the Old
Testament. Some of them
are
like pseudo-apocryphal, like Enoch and
some apocryphal books.
And those are probably dated to, they're hidden by the Essenes, right? So it was around probably 70 AD, because
it was when Rome was moving in.
Yeah, so that's right around the Bar Kokhba, I think, rebellion, where the temple was. They were putting up an idol in the temple with desolation, whatever, of abomination. So the Jews actually won back Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And then the Romans came in, cleared out Jerusalem. They all went to Masada. And they think that the Essenes abandoned their caves, because all these scrolls were found in these Qumran, all these different caves. And they think that they went to Masada and they all committed suicide there. And that's why the scrolls were never recovered and they stayed hidden, because no one knew where they were, because everyone died. So
that makes sense.
They at least were probably written around the time of Christ.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was any of the apostle books in there.
Probably not, because they were
Jewish. Well, yeah.
So there wouldn't have been, but it also goes to show you that how much things are lost, how much might be out there. But the owner who wrote something is that, and again, I think we were talking about debating.
It's still one of the oldest historical documents we have.
Yeah,
the Bible, or parts of the Bible,
right?
So that's something, right?
I think so. And in a debate, I would bring that up.
Solid point. So you can take that one home at least.
Right.
You finished your beer, you can't talk anymore.
I guess
that's the rule.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I actually had extra. Give me some of that for you, a little bit out of the pumpkin. See if it works. Look at that. That little notch.
Here, show the camera.
Can you see it?
No, they're not seeing the notch. You put a
We'll
little notch.
have to make a pumpkin
soap
video here. Hey now. He doesn't have the skills.
I haven't developed those skills yet.
Thing of beauty. This side is ugly, so that's why I'm facing it that way. It actually just looks like a floating pumpkin.
It is a floating pumpkin. See, this is.
We saw it here.
Can you prove that it is floating through science?
You can't.
Just by looking.
You
right
cannot
now?
prove it.
Now you can. Now you can.
Is there even a table here?
There might not be.
This might all be.
I can have my wife just holding the camera right now.
Hi, Amanda. Oh, I thought you meant she was like underneath.
She could be somewhere.
We were way off top.
And they would be able to prove it empirically, one way or the other.
So there's I feel like they're all trying to explain away from a certain point. We're all trying to explain what we see. And obviously we can't go back there. We can't go back to see if Moses actually wrote the Torah. We can't go back to the beginning of the Big Bang. And you brought up a good point earlier, in the future, we won't have the same evidences for
the universe now.
For the universe, because it's expanding, it's changing.
Yeah. So real quickly, if the universe is expanding like we're saying in a billion years or whatever, you won't be able to see anything moving away from us because everything will have been moved away, and therefore, if you take the science at that moment, you can't then prove that the universe is expanding, even though it did. So, and then the argument is, well, maybe things are happening. Maybe things happen in the recent past that have faded in some way that we can't even imagine. But right now, we're trying to figure things out, and there's gaps in there because something happened in the past that we can't even imagine.
I think we look bad when we do debates. If I can use this as an example, Rotten Tomatoes, like movie reviews,
Yeah,
like every once in a while, the critics will give it like 100%. It's like they really love this movie. Then you look at like the movie viewer, your standard movie, the percentage, they have like two percentages.
yeah,
It's like certified,
fresh,
organic, or not rotten.
it's fresh.
Fresh. And then you have like green, like they did not like it. It was rotten. So sometimes you have 100%.
Yeah.
And you got like a 60%. Like so what's different there? You have the science community, is people who know the movies.
Yeah.
Coming to a certain conclusion, but then like 60% of Americans, 60-70% of Americans believe in a God, believe in some sort of creation.
Yeah.
But some of them have like a mixed match idea, but they still believe in a God. So
So
how is
the
the
movie
majority
actually-
coming to a certain conclusion where you have scientific minds coming to another? Is it to show that they're smarter and they know more than you?
Right.
And you look at these people, oh, they're a movie critic. They know more about movies than I do, so this movie's obviously bad. But you're like, but I liked Braveheart. I thought
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
It
And I
doesn't
think,
deserve a 40%.
and I actually,
Braveheart probably has good reviews. I'm just using
and
an
I
example.
really do like that. That's a great analogy because in that analogy, you're talking about how the professionals are rating the movie if it's good or not, and the layman also gets rated. But who's to really say if the movie's? But we have to define what
Maybe-
makes a good movie to begin with. And
I
another,
just want that movie to be good because I want to know that I have purpose in my life. That's one thing people say. We even saw it the other day. It's like, what did it say? Life is like a pencil. Without God, there's no point.
yes,
An unsharpened pencil.
an unsharpened pencil.
But you hear from it's like, of course, there's a point that once you get rid of God, you realize that you can't rely on some spiritual force. You know, every day you got to live for the now, and you gotta further humanity, and religion holds you back, and all wars are about religion. If we could just get rid of God, there'd be peace, and everyone would get along. And then they show these statistics of that, like, prisons are full of people who believe in God, Muslim or Christian, and there's like, look at the atheists. There's like no atheists in there. It's like atheists
That's
don't
funny.
start war, religion starts war, and they have a point.
May I counter?
Counter.
Christians didn't invent the atomic bomb, right? Christians didn't invent biological weapons, right?
Is Albert Einstein?
Albert Einstein, right? Atheist. Don't get it confused. Atheist, not a Christian. Helped with, instigated that. He wrote a letter to the president, encouraging America to develop an atomic bomb because he knew the Germans were. So Christians aren't behind all these mass weapons of war. It's atheists. It's people who don't believe in God. It's people who want to oppress others. So they could throw some sort of statistic at you saying Christian religious people in jail, but
Well, I'm almost out of beer. We won't keep you too long. One more point I wanted to make was that maybe avoiding like the scientific discussion is probably because it's kind of like wars. So the Revolutionary War, it's kind of like the Americans going out against the British regulars. You know, they were trying to
Yeah.
fight them on the lines, and we kept losing battles. And we're like, we're not going to fight fair. We're going to do guerrilla style
Yeah.
from the woods. And watch The Patriot, another Mel Gibson movie. It's probably got a lower rating than Braveheart, but because knowing God is about the relationship. Like I hear so many people say, like, "Oh, I tried to talk to God, he doesn't talk back, so therefore he doesn't exist." And I feel like an anger
yeah,
builds up, and they don't even know it. And there's like, then they just try to find evidences to convince themselves that this God doesn't exist. It's almost like subliminal. They don't even notice it. They just want an excuse that why
not.
Yeah, because I felt that same way growing up in church. Like, oh, everyone's raising their hands, and I can't get involved with that. Why don't I feel what they're feeling?
Don't trust the heart. It's desperately
Don't
wicked.
trust the heart.
Who can
That's
know
a
it?
good point. Don't trust your head either. I don't know. But trust the Bible.
That's
Sure.
right. Maybe that'll be another topic why we can trust the Bible.
But a lot of these atheists, it's true, they're very intelligent and they are reading the Bible and I think they're doing their due diligence. I don't think a lot of them are evil. I think some of them are. Like they have an agenda. I think some of them actually do believe in the Bible, but they're just pinpointing verses and they're tearing them apart, making God to look evil. And I think if you do read the Bible and try to take your own mind and look at it, I think it'll be revealed to you what the truth is. But it's okay to have that skepticism. The Bible says, "Be a good Berean and test all things."
Right.
And I think that's what we're called to do. So a lot of these atheists, I think, are doing more of their due diligence than Christians because they're at least going out there and answering the questions.
Yeah, if you're a
it depends
Christian-
where your heart's coming from, because you can kind of tell the ones that are actually searching
Yeah,
for truth,
and one's trying to
and one's just trying to dismantle everything. And
not really understand the Bible, how it's written.
so at least Bill Nye had the conversation. You
least
got to
he
give
had
him
the
credit for that.
conversation.
You know, he went out there and did that.
He's open to it. That's true.
Any closing thoughts? That was mine.
Debates don't work because people's pride and personalities are always on the line, and it can usually turn into an argument, or you're not even trying to
Rabbit
actually
holes.
debate. Yeah, rabbit holes, debate, arguments, or just preaching to your own side. That's why debates aren't really the best. I'm not against them, but they're not the best way to discover the truth.
Yeah, religion's not about convincing people. It's about a relationship with our Creator. So try to have that relationship. And the Bible describes how to have that relationship.
Faith in Jesus.
Faith in Jesus. That's where it starts. You got to have that faith. You got to say, like, I believe in you. Right. To start that step, because then he'll start to reveal himself to you. Because if you're full of sin, it says, like, God removed himself from the temple in Ezekiel because there was so much sin he couldn't be there. So if there's sin in your life, even if you don't realize it's sin, he can't be close to you. So if you're like, I'm talking to God, but he's not talking back to me, maybe there's something in your life that's preventing him from being closer to you.
That's true. Very good point.
And there's only one way to know, and that's to... Oh, this isn't in the Bible, but read the Bible.
Read the Bible.
It's the book of Genesis.
So somewhere there.
So it's weird. It's flipped.
Genesis and skip to John.
We're done.
There you go.
It's been a Bible and a beer with Jared and Nate.
There you go. Very good.
Probably didn't record at all.
I'm gonna get back to my grill.